Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Nigel St. James, and today we're going to explore why the sextile came about, how it came about, and why the trine came about and how it came about. And it's an interesting story. Now, you will have understood the aspects known as sextiles and trines in your journeys through astrology, and probably most people just assume the sextile is good or assume that the trine is good without knowing why. Well, today we're going to see why it is the case, and I'm going to use this chart here. But first, may I say that these, of course, are the sextile and the trine are beneficial aspects in astrology, and for a video on the more difficult aspects, being the square and the opposition, see the link in the description. Why astrology works at all, in my view, see the section on astrology in my website, link in the description. And if you want to know the spiritual underpinnings as to why and what the signs, the glyphs of the planets and of the constellations mean, there is a link in the description. And these sextiles and trines move around all the time because the heavens move very quickly. Each sign, for example, rises above the eastern horizon roughly every 2 hours, and that is why I think that your rising sign is your most important personal sign, and there is a link into the description as to why I think that. But now let us look at sextiles and trines, can we? Sextiles are denoted usually with the asterisk and the trine with the triangle. Now, you ask, why have I split the zodiac into two halves? And that is because by the medieval times, most of the writers, certainly most of them anyway, and probably writers going before them back to Greece, thought that the zodiac was divided into two halves. One half was ruled by the sun and the other half was ruled by the moon. So let's look to see why the sun, the moon, Venus, and Jupiter are important in establishing or creating the concept of sextile and trine, however else they may thereafter move around in a chart. Let's look first. I'll also say this, that the sun aspects going forward and the moon aspects going backwards. Now, if we look at the sun is looking down this way. It looks, first of all, here into Virgo, doesn't see anything that it likes, and then it looks down here into Libra, and it does see something that it likes. It sees the planet of Venus. Venus is known as the lesser benefic. That is, it's a beneficial planet. It doesn't provide total happiness, it doesn't provide total support, total comfort, but it does provide some comfort. Therefore, it is a beneficial aspect between the sun and Venus sitting in Libra. Now, coincidentally, and you'll see a pattern emerging here, if we look at the moon and it aspects backwards, again, it looks at Mercury, and this time sitting in Gemini, and it doesn't see anything. And here it sees Venus in Taurus this time, and it gets a good feeling for the same reason, being that Venus is a benefic. And so we can say, and you'll see, I'll just mark it in just a moment. I use hand-drawn things like this only because I find it to be more useful for just sort of discussing things like this. It's more personal. But you can see that there is, in the pattern that's come here, 60 degrees away from the sun is Venus, and that's a sextile, and 60 degrees away from the moon is Venus in Taurus, which is a sextile. Then if the sun looks anything further, what does it see for the point of view of getting a good feeling? Well, it sees Mars, and it doesn't like much about that. Then it comes into Sagittarius, and it sees Jupiter. Jupiter is known as the great benefic, and so it is the sign. It is the planet that provides the fullness that Venus by itself cannot do. Jupiter provides total comfort, total goodness, total prosperity, and so it is the great benefic. Interestingly, when we look to see what the moon is doing when it moves backwards, it comes back here, and again it sees Mars in the same position as it saw over there and doesn't have a good feeling about it. But then it comes down into Pisces, and Pisces sees the rulership of Jupiter again. So the planetary rulership of Jupiter is what makes the difference, and so does the planetary rulership of Venus make the difference. And in this case, what we have is, in my Jackson Pollock sort of way, is provide these two angles, which will be very easy for you to see. Now, here you see how each side mirrors the other, the pattern exists. The moon likes what it sees in Pisces because the rulership is Jupiter. It likes what it sees over here in Sagittarius because the rulership is Jupiter. It is more beneficial than that of Venus, and it is a trine. In fact, the trine degree is 120 degrees, which is double that of the sextile. So there you have it, in a nutshell, as to how and why sextiles and trines are good. Have a look at why squares and oppositions are bad by clicking the link in the description. Bye for now.